Missing someone with all your missing someone
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to do a hair transformation on a client who has some pre-existing highlights. She wants to do like a color that is going to fade into a really beautiful pastel pink, and I've already pre-sectioned out her hair. We did a very specific placement based off of what she was telling me and kind of what she wanted. So you can see we did like a chunk on the top and then a hidden chunk on the underneath for the right side of her head, and then on the left side of her head we're going to be doing a full-on chunk where her side part is. And so the hair that isn't going to be lightened, I did already braid it out of the way to kind of keep my sections very clean, and I started in the back so that if the back is ready I can rinse those out before I finish up the front. So right now I'm going in and lightening her regrowth, and you can see I'm kind of picking out some pieces that have been previously highlighted. So she expressed to me that the last color she got done, it was a little bit too dimensional in the areas that she wanted. So this time she wanted to go full on solid in those areas and really have them be like very specific chunks. So I'm going in and taking very thin slices, and then of course carefully picking out those pieces that have been previously highlighted on the mids and ends to kind of get her chunks more solid and even. And this is kind of meticulous just because I don't want to over process the highlights or any pieces that have been highlighted on the mids and ends as I'm lightening the top. And then the other thing is, since we're wanting to kind of go as like light and pastel-y as possible, I'm trying to get a really clean, even lift by taking very thin slices. So this client, she's very familiar with creative color tones. She knows that they fade extremely fast, and like she doesn't mind the fade of it. And so because of that, she opted to do something a little bit brighter, and that's something that I always recommend clients, especially if they're going for pastels. It's always a really good idea to do a deeper version of the color that your goal is, because essentially if I were to just put pastel right on top of whatever she's lifted to, it would realistically only last her like a few washes, and by a few washes it can be maybe like 2 or 3 washes if we do a pastel. But if we do a brighter tone of what she's going for, it will definitely help her last longer, and then also she'll enjoy the fade of it. And personally, I feel like the fade of it is really the best part of any type of creative color, and I find that fade, when it starts to fade into the pastel, kind of lasts a little bit longer so that you're able to enjoy the color a bit more. And as I'm foiling her too, I am using my custom cut foils from Framart, and I'm using them because I don't want to bend the hair or anything like that. Since we're going for something that is solid, we want to have a really clean application and have the lightener stay put wherever we put it, because I am making sure that I am heavily saturating these areas, because you can see her natural hair is like almost a level 3, I would say, and I want to make sure that her hair lives really well. So I am going in and making sure that my foils are flat, they're not folded where the lightener is, so that the lightener doesn't move around and create any type of uneven lift. So for this application too, we are not going to be going to the root. She wants something that is kind of rooty, so it kind of goes with the rest of her hair. So I am leaving the little tiniest bit of root. And also for my products, I am using the Blonde V Schwarzkopf lightener. And for the whole application, I'm pretty much just using 20 volume. So now that I've finished the chunks on the right side, I'm going in and doing that larger chunk on the side. So before I do the horizontal placement or like foiling like I am right now, you can see I have already done a foil along her hairline. And the reason why I did a foil there first before going in and doing slices horizontally up the head is because if I were to just go in right off the bat and just start doing like horizontal slices up the head, it would create like a really jagged, zigzaggy like line of demarcation around her hairline if I were not to do a slice around the hairline. And trust me, I have made this mistake before and have seen it, and it's a huge tip to do this detail hairline right around the hairline before you do any type of horizontal slicing up the head, especially around the hairline, because if you don't, you will definitely see the weird demarcation line of the different slices up the hairline, if that makes sense. So I'm pretty much going to be doing the horizontal slices all the way up to the wherever we have sectioned her part line and everything, and where this chunk is going to be. And you know, before doing all of this, I did pre-section her hair, and we definitely discussed it and decided that this is how big the chunks were going to be in the consultation before I had sectioned everything and began. So here's a quick clip of me taking out her foils, and I'm just kind of like mushing them together to kind of make sure that everything is nice and even and lifted really well. She actually lifted really pretty considering how dark her hair is naturally. I felt like I didn't really have a problem, but also I feel like that was because my application was so clean and very thin, and I just did a very heavy application on my slices to help kind of lift her super even and clean like this. And so I always like to kind of mesh all of the foils, or after I take them together, I like to mesh the hair together before I rinse it out. I don't know, I just feel like it kind of creates a more like slightly even lift. And so now I'm going in and I'm slightly tapping the regrowth area. I'm sorry, it's really blurry. I didn't realize that this kind of was unfocused, but I'm hitting her root area where these chunks are with a liquid demi, and I'm using like a 6-1, which is a level 6 ash. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I really want to kind of just blur out the line of demarcation just a little bit, even though we're going to be going in with a semi, but we're going in with like a really bright semi, and it's potentially going to like fade out into a pastel very quickly. So I really wanted the line at her root to kind of be diffused a little bit. I just don't love seeing harsh lines, and I felt like this was just something that I felt like she needed because it was such a harsh line considering the slices that we took and against her natural like dark hair. So I'm just quickly going in and like tapping it, and I just like left this part on for a couple minutes, and then I will shampoo this out, brush out her ends, and then we're going to dry her and get her ready for a semi-permanent, which is going to be put on like mostly dry hair. And again, this part is like totally optional. You don't have to do this, but I don't know, considering like where the chunks were and the placement, and considering how dark her hair was, I just like felt like this would make a huge difference to me, and just blurring out those lines a little bit. And you can even see as the toner is processing that it definitely did help a lot with kind of blending in these chunks to her natural hair color. Okay, so now for the fun part. So right now my assistant Emily is going in and applying her semi color, and for today's semi we're going to be using the Danger Jones semi-permanent color, and she was super excited to use this. This was the first time we were using this in her hair, and so we are using a mixture of a Lovesick with clear, and then we added in some like Hustler and some Hysteria to kind of like mute it out a little bit. The Hysteria is there to kind of keep it from being too bright, and then the clear is there to dilute it. And she did have previous highlights in her hair, so we are putting this color all over, including like the chunks and the highlights. And since the root has already been shadow rooted, I don't have to worry about making a like darker color. I could just put this one color all over and it will look beautiful and look very seamless. If I didn't do a shadow root, sometimes I would just do a darker semi-permanent at the root in the areas that are needed, but I felt like for her, I felt like a shadow root would have been better and just help everything blend a lot nicer. Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. I was obsessed with this because the placement was just so unique and special and just like very personalized to this specific client and where she wanted to see color and pops of it, that I loved it. We both agreed and discussed where we were going to add lightness and how much of it, and adding the chunks right on this side, which is like her right side, I was a little unsure about because it was kind of random to add something like so far up, but honestly it turned out amazing. And I feel like the fact that it was placed a little bit below where her cowlick is, it kind of helps blend it all together and make it not look so harsh against the root area, if that makes sense. And you know, although trunks are not technically natural, I was trying my best to kind of make it look blended and seamless as possible at the root because they are chunks and I just don't love seeing something that has super harsh lines, but I felt like this blended as best as it could with her natural and just looked so seamless against her highlights that she previously had as well too. And since we did a brighter version of that pink that she originally wanted, this is going to fade into that very same pastel pink that she had showed me as her goal photo, which is going to be perfect. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. And as always, I will talk to you guys next week.